Hey guys, tonight we wander through the scented corridors of ancient Egypt, a land where perfumes weren't just a luxury, but a way of life. Imagine yourself walking along the dusty streets of Thebes or Memphis, the air thick with the gentle waft of flowers, spices, and mysterious oils. You probably won't survive a day wearing their heavy, fragrant rituals, but that's okay. You're here to relax, not to smell like a royal embalmer. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, why not drop your location and local time in the comments? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Perfume in ancient Egypt was woven deeply into the fabric of daily life, religion, and even death. You breathe in scents that once filled temples, palaces, and humble homes, transported across thousands of years. The Egyptians believed smell was a connection between the earthly and divine, with perfumes acting as gifts for the gods or shields against evil spirits. For you, this might sound a bit like spiritual multitasking, wearing a fragrance that's equal parts personal cologne and holy offering. But that's just the beginning. You trudge through narrow market lanes where perfumers sold their delicate oils and balms, their booths lined with alabaster jars sparkling faintly in the midday sun. Imagine the soft rustle of linen robes mingling with the faint scraping of pottery as customers sniff and select their scents. You can almost taste the honeyed sweetness of lotus or the sharp, piney notes of cedar. Historians still argue whether perfume was an everyday necessity or mostly a marker of status. Some texts suggest even children were doused in fragrance, while others hint that the poor rarely smelled more than the river itself. Either way, these smells marked identity and status, a fragrant language spoken without words. You'll also find it's not just about scent. Ancient Egyptians mixed fragrance with oil, creating textures that protected skin from the desert sun, sort of like sunscreen with a bouquet. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen? Well, perfumes were kinder but equally essential. This sensory world isn't just a passive backdrop. It's active, complex, and strangely intimate. So lean back, breathe slow, and let the sense of a civilization long past lull you toward rest. You drift now along the lush, fertile banks of the Nile, where the real magic of ancient Egyptian perfume begins. The flowers and plants. Imagine the river's gentle murmur beneath you, reeds swaying, and the subtle dance of pollen in the warm breeze. These botanical treasures weren't picked randomly. The Egyptians knew exactly which blooms would gift them their signature scents. Papyrus, lotus, jasmine, and myrtle. Each plant carried not just fragrance, but meaning. The lotus, for example, wasn't just a pretty flower floating on ponds. It symbolized creation and rebirth. Its scent a soft whisper of morning mist. You might even picture yourself stooping to gently gather lotus petals, the silky texture cool against your fingertips. Among the Nile's verdant foliage, marigolds and frankincense trees stood tall, their resinous aromas weaving an earthy, spicy thread through the perfumed tapestry. And let's not forget the humble coriander and cinnamon, exotic spices that traveled far to mingle with local blossoms. You almost hear the buzz of bees, gently pollinating these fragrant plants, their honey a secret ingredient in some perfume recipes. Historians still argue whether all these botanicals were cultivated in gardens or mostly harvested wild, wandering through sacred groves and royal parks in search of their precious scents. The Egyptians' botanical expertise wasn't limited to the obvious. They carefully collected flowers at dawn, when their scent was freshest, much like you might pick a fresh coffee bean at the perfect roast time. Some flowers, like jasmine, only bloomed at night, releasing their perfume in the dark, a mysterious nocturnal gift for temple rituals or intimate evenings. You can almost smell the soft floral haze settling over a quiet evening garden party by the Nile, as scents mingle with gentle laughter and the flicker of oil lamps. There's also a quirky, lesser-known tidbit. Some flowers were believed to have aphrodisiac properties, so perfumes doubled as subtle love potions, sparking quiet intrigue beneath those flowing robes. Imagine the delicate game of scent as a form of conversation. a silent language of attraction. This wasn't just vanity. It was a cultural art form wrapped in layers of meaning, tradition, and sensory delight. As you picture yourself gathering these fragrant gifts, remember the effort involved. Each petal, resin drop, and spice grain had to be carefully harvested and preserved. The sun beat down, the river's humidity shifted, and timing was everything. The flower's journey from bloom to bottle was slow, deliberate, almost ritualistic. And all along the question remains, how much of this knowledge was sacred mystery and how much was practical science? Historians still debate exactly how the Egyptians balanced these two worlds. Now, as the sun sets over the Nile and the scents fade softly into evening, you let the delicate fragrances carry you deeper into this timeless sensory journey. As the dawn breaks over the endless desert horizon, you find yourself at the feet of workers tasked with collecting the precious raw materials needed for those intoxicating scents. It's a labor far removed from the tranquil image of lush gardens. Instead, it's a gritty reality filled with sun-baked palms, sticky resins, and delicate petals that must be gathered with care. You imagine these harvesters carefully clipping fragile lotus blossoms before the harsh sun wilts their fragrance, or scraping fragrant resins from ancient trees with practiced hands. The scent of crushed herbs mingles with the earthy aroma of the Nile mud, grounding this seemingly ethereal craft in a surprisingly tactile world. Some of these materials came from far-flung places. Spices like cinnamon weren't native, but traveled long distances, carried by caravans and riverboats. Others, like frankincense and myrrh, were harvested in arid regions where resinous trees thrived, their sticky sap collected by skilled gatherers who risked cuts and burns. It's a curious image. Men and women scaling rugged terrain, armed with simple tools, all in the service of fragrance. You'd think it was the stuff of luxury, but behind every precious drop was sweat and toil. One quirky aspect you might not expect is that certain flower gathering involved night work. For instance, jasmine was harvested under moonlight to preserve its delicate aroma. Imagine carefully plucking blooms in near darkness, guided only by the stars and a soft breeze, the faint perfume a reward for patience and skill. Meanwhile, other harvesters worked at dawn to catch the flowers at their most fragrant peak. This dance with nature's rhythms added a sacred quality to the collection process itself. Historians still argue whether these harvests were organized by temple authorities, royal decree, or more communal village efforts. Was perfume production centralized like a modern factory, or more of an artisanal trade scattered across regions? The evidence is tantalizing but incomplete, inviting you to wonder about the hidden layers of this ancient economy. And then, there's the odd bit that maybe only you will appreciate. Some ancient texts hint that certain plants were guarded jealously, almost like secret treasures, with harvesters sworn to silence or even punished for sharing their knowledge. It's a whisper of intrigue that adds a mysterious layer to what otherwise seems like straightforward gathering. You can almost picture a tired flower picker glancing nervously over their shoulder as they sneak an extra blossom into their basket. So, as you imagine the journey from wild bloom to collected treasure, feel the warmth of the sun, the stickiness of resin on your fingertips, and the quiet anticipation of what these raw materials will become. The perfume story starts here, in the hands of those who knew how to coax scent from the earth itself. Now you step into the dim, fragrant spaces where the true magic happens. The art of extracting those elusive scents from petals, resins, and herbs. It's not just plucking flowers and calling it a day. No, the ancient Egyptians developed surprisingly sophisticated methods to capture perfume oils, each step requiring patience and precision. Imagine yourself in a low-ceilinged workshop, walls stained with the residue of countless fragrant experiments, the air heavy but comforting, like a warm herbal tea. One favorite method was enfleurage, a gentle process where fresh petals were pressed onto fat-covered glass plates, allowing the fat to absorb the flower's delicate oils over days or even weeks. You probably picture this as some fancy, mysterious process, but it's a lot like leaving rose petals in butter to make a scented spread, just on a much more ritualistic scale. This fat, now richly perfumed, would later be washed with alcohol or heated to separate the essential oils, yielding the precious perfume base. Historians still argue how widely enfleurage was practiced in Egypt, but the method's delicate touch certainly aligns with their known appreciation for subtlety. And another technique was maceration, which involves soaking plant materials in warm oils or fats to release their fragrances. Think of this as the ancient equivalent of steeping tea, but instead of caffeine, you get the soul of the flower. It required slow, steady warmth, patience that might test even the most relaxed of us. You can almost hear the soft bubbling of oil as it slowly swirls, extracting scents that dance in the air like a whispered secret. Beyond these, Egyptians also used simple pressing and boiling, especially for resins and spices. The sticky sap of frankincense or myrrh was gently warmed to soften it, then strained to separate fragrant oils. There's a curious tactile sense here. Imagine the resin's texture, both brittle and sticky, transformed by heat into liquid, gold. Some of these processes were closely guarded secrets, passed down from master perfumers to apprentices in hushed tones. And here's a quirky little fact. Certain recipes called for adding crocodile dung to aid fermentation during scent extraction. Now, you probably wouldn't sign up for that job, but it reminds you that ancient perfumery wasn't all delicate roses and lotus. It sometimes got downright earthy. Of course, historians debate whether this was a widespread practice or more of an experimental side note. Either way, it adds an unexpected edge to the otherwise soothing world of scent. As you imagine this slow, fragrant dance of petals and oils, you begin to appreciate the time and care poured into every drop. This isn't the rush of modern spray bottles. It's a measured, patient art designed to capture not just smell, but memory, spirit, and devotion. Let the gentle hum of those ancient workshops lull you deeper into the story. As the fragrant oils are coaxed from petals and resins, you now find yourself witnessing the delicate blending of perfumes with oils and fats, a step that brings the ancient craft closer to the perfumes worn and treasured by Egyptians of all walks of life. Picture a quiet chamber with wooden tables, bowls of fragrant fats, and tiny jars waiting patiently to hold the finished concoctions. Here, the texture mattered just as much as the scent. A perfume had to feel smooth on the skin, lingering softly without overwhelming or drying it out. The Egyptians used base oils like castor and sesame, prized not just for their mild scents, but for their skin-nourishing properties. Imagine rubbing these oils into your palms, warm and soothing, as you mix in just the right amount of fragrant essence. Perfumes weren't simply liquid smells. They were balm-like, almost lotion-like, blending beauty with care. Wearing perfume was part skincare ritual, part sensory delight. Historians still argue whether these mixtures were more medicinal or purely cosmetic, but it's clear that the lines often blurred. You might find it amusing to learn that some recipes included ingredients like animal fats or even honey, which helped to stabilize the scent and add a subtle sweetness. Honey was a natural preservative and added a sticky texture that kept the scent close to the skin. So, think of Egyptian perfume as a sticky, sweet hug for your nose, far from the quick, dry sprays we use today. There was also an art to layering scents. Some perfumes combined floral, spicy, and resinous notes, creating complex bouquets that could tell a story about the wearer's mood, status, or occasion. Containers, of course, were essential for these precious mixtures. You'd find everything from simple pottery jars to exquisitely carved alabaster bottles designed to protect the perfume from the sun and air. The shape and decoration of these containers sometimes hinted at the perfume's intended use or value. Imagine a tiny, delicate vessel passed quietly from hand to hand in a bustling market, its contents a whispered secret of the senses. And here's a quirky detail. Some perfume makers would add natural dyes, not for smell, but to color the oils. A soft pink, green, or gold. Wearing a colored perfume was like wearing jewelry on your skin, adding another layer of allure. Of course, not everyone approved. Some texts warned against overdoing color, preferring the natural purity of scent. It's a reminder that even in ancient times, fashion debates raged on. As you imagine the slow, careful mixing and the silky feel of oils on your skin, let yourself sink deeper into this intimate sensory world. This is not a hurried craft, but a patient embrace of nature's gifts designed to soothe, seduce, and connect. You step now into the fragrant smoke of incense and resins, a world where perfume meets the spiritual and the mysterious. Imagine temple courtyards bathed in soft golden light, tendrils of fragrant smoke curling lazily upward, carrying prayers and offerings to distant gods. Frankincense and myrrh weren't just perfume ingredients. They were the ancient Egyptians' version of mystical smoke signals, bridging the earthly and divine realms. You almost hear the flicker of flame as priests carefully burn these resins on charcoal, releasing scents that shift between sweet, spicy, and almost medicinal. These resins came from faraway lands, Somalia, Arabia, and beyond, and were highly prized. You can picture caravans winding through deserts, bearing sacks of sticky resin that smelled like nothing you've quite experienced before, both sharp and soothing. Egyptians used these resins in everyday perfumes, but also in sacred rituals, believing their smoke cleansed spaces of evil spirits and invited blessings. It's as if scent became a protective veil, invisible yet powerful. Historians still argue about the exact role these resins played beyond fragrance. Were they simply aromatic, or did they hold secret healing powers? Some texts suggest that incense smoke was thought to carry the essence of gods themselves, making it a conduit for divine presence. Imagine standing quietly in a temple chamber, the scent thick and comforting, a sensory prayer woven through the air. One lesser-known fact is that certain incense blends included crushed insects or beeswax to alter the burn rate and scent. It's an oddly natural way of programming how the smoke behaves, akin to ancient incense technology. You might chuckle at the thought of beeswax in your perfume, but in this world, everything had a purpose, even the unexpected. Perfume and incense were also deeply tied to Egyptian funerary practices. You remember those embalming rituals where scent wasn't just about masking odor, but about preserving the soul's journey? The same resins and oils were part of tomb preparations, ensuring that the deceased's spirit traveled with fragrance as a guide and protection. It's a comforting thought, really, that scent could accompany you beyond life. As you imagine the curling smoke and rich aromas filling ancient halls, let the warmth and mystery settle around you. This isn't just perfume. It's a fragrant connection between worlds, a sensory thread that ties past to present, mortal to divine. Now you quietly slip into the hidden workshops where the skilled hands of perfumers shape those fragrant dreams into reality. Picture small rooms filled with the scent of warm oils, crushed petals, and resinous smoke curling toward low wooden beams. These spaces were neither grand palaces nor dusty bazaars, but humble, bustling hubs where art and science mingled in fragrant harmony. Apprentices learned under watchful masters, fingers stained with oils, eyes alert for the subtle changes in aroma that only years of practice could teach. Perfume workshops ranged from royal chambers reserved for the pharaoh's exclusive scents to lively market stalls where everyday blends were crafted and sold. Imagine the rhythm of the day, mixing, testing, packaging, and sometimes negotiating with eager customers. The process was both creative and precise. Too much of one resin could overwhelm a delicate flower note, and the wrong oil could dull the whole blend. It was an art form requiring patience, skill, and a nose finely tuned to nuance. Historians still debate how specialized these perfumers were. Were their master artisans devoted solely to perfume, or did their work overlap with medicine and cosmetics? Some evidence suggests the latter, blurring the lines between healing balms and luxurious scents. You can almost see the perfumer carefully, measuring a bitter herb for a salve, then switching to a fragrant flower for a celebratory oil. Each blend serving a different purpose, but crafted with equal care. A quirky detail worth a smile. Some perfumers used cats as quality testers. Yes, you heard that right. Cats with their sensitive noses were thought to react to the purity and strength of scents. A curious feline rubbing against a jar might have meant approval, while disinterest signaled a recipe needing adjustment. It's a charming image that brings warmth and humor to these ancient workshops. Apprenticeships were long and rigorous, often involving secret knowledge handed down orally. Imagine a young trainee, barely able to stand the strong smells, learning To distinguish dozens of subtle notes and mastering the slow, delicate processes, this knowledge was highly prized and sometimes guarded jealously, for perfume was more than luxury. It was cultural identity, power, and even spiritual protection. So as you breathe in the imagined aromas of these workshops, warm oils, sweet flowers, earthy resins, let yourself drift deeper into the world of ancient craftsmanship, where every drop told a story, every scent was a song, and every jar held a tiny piece of eternity. You now find yourself admiring the delicate artistry of perfume containers, those small treasures that held the precious scents of ancient Egypt. Picture yourself gently picking up an alabaster bottle, its cool surface smooth under your fingertips, its slender neck designed to guard the precious contents within. These containers were more than mere vessels. They were works of art, crafted to preserve the fragrance from the harsh desert sun and eager noses alike. Imagine the soft clinking of glass and pottery jars arranged neatly on wooden shelves in perfumers' shops and palace storerooms. Some jars were simple pottery, unglazed and utilitarian, meant for everyday use. Others were exquisite alabaster, or even gold, carved with intricate hieroglyphs or delicate floral motifs that echoed the scents they held. The shape and decoration often indicated the perfume's quality and purpose. Tiny bottles for rare and expensive oils, larger jars for common blends. Historians still debate how widespread the use of luxurious containers was outside the elite, but it's clear these objects were treasured as much as their fragrant contents. You might be surprised to learn that these containers often featured narrow necks and tiny stoppers designed to slow evaporation and keep the perfume fresh for months or even years. Some even had tiny holes drilled in their lids, allowing the scent to slowly diffuse, almost like an ancient reed diffuser. Imagine holding such a bottle close to your nose, inhaling faint wisps of jasmine or cedar, a private, timeless pleasure. Quirky detail to savor. Some perfume containers were designed to be worn as jewelry, transforming fragrance into a personal accessory. Imagine a delicate alabaster vial hanging from a necklace or tied around a wrist, the scent mingling intimately with your skin as you move. This fusion of perfume and adornment blurred the line between beauty and utility, turning scent into a constant wearable presence. As you imagine these precious vessels resting in cool, shadowed rooms, their contents waiting patiently, feel the care and reverence ancient Egyptians held for every part of their perfume ritual. These containers weren't just functional, they were extensions of identity, culture, and the art of scent itself. Let the quiet beauty of these vessels linger. As you gently drift deeper into the fragrant world of ancient Egypt, you now slip seamlessly into the rhythm of daily life, where perfumes were woven into every gesture, every breath. Imagine yourself rising early in an ancient Egyptian home, the air filled with the soft aroma of scented oils lingering on linens and skin. Perfume wasn't just a luxury, it was part of personal care, hygiene, and social grace. You can almost feel the coolness of a perfumed oil rubbed onto sun-warmed skin, protecting against the harsh desert heat while leaving a faint, lingering fragrance that announced your presence softly but unmistakably. The Egyptians applied perfume generously on the body, hair, and even clothing, sometimes layering scents to create personal signatures. Wearing fragrance was like wearing a second skin, one that comforted, refreshed, and communicated. You might smile imagining someone bustling through a crowded market, their scent mingling with the river's fresh and earthy smells, creating a sensory tapestry unique to them. Historians still argue whether these scent rituals were universal or varied widely by social class. Some suggest that even children were doused in fragrance, while others believe scent was a privilege mostly enjoyed by the wealthy. Regardless, evidence points to perfume serving practical functions, masking odors in a city without modern sanitation, warding off insects, and even offering spiritual protection from malevolent forces. Here's a quirky note that might make you chuckle. Some texts hint that men often preferred muskier, heavier scents, while women favored lighter, floral perfumes, though preferences could change with the season, mood, or occasion. It's a reminder that even 3,000 years ago, people were debating fragrance choices much like we do today, except with far fewer options on the shelf. Perfume was also part of grooming rituals involving cosmetics and oils, with attendants helping nobles and royals anoint themselves in fragrant layers. You might picture a royal dressing room filled with the scent of lotus, cedar, and myrrh. Attendants moving gracefully as they apply oils, the soft rustle of linen blending with whispered compliments and quiet laughter. So, as you imagine this fragrant dance of everyday life, let yourself sink into the comforting idea that scent was an ancient friend, one that soothed, protected, and expressed identity in a world both harsh and beautiful. As the day moves on, you now find yourself drawn into the solemn hush of ancient Egyptian religious ceremonies, where perfume played a sacred and mysterious role. Picture towering temple columns, their surfaces carved with stories of gods and kings, flickering torchlight casting shadows that dance softly on stone walls. The air here is thick with fragrant smoke from incense burners, blending with the rich aromas of oils and balms, carefully prepared to honor the divine. Perfume wasn't just decoration, it was a vital offering, a bridge between mortal worshippers and the gods they revered. You can almost see priests delicately anointing statues of deities with scented oils, their movements slow and reverent, each drop a prayer in liquid form. Perfume filled the temple air during rituals, believed to purify spaces and invite blessings. It was thought that the gods themselves delighted in these fragrances, and that scent could carry prayers skyward. Historians still debate how deeply intertwined these olfactory practices were with theology. Was perfume merely symbolic, or did it hold actual spiritual power? One of the more intriguing rituals involved burning complex incense blends on altars, the smoke believed to act as a conduit between worlds. Imagine a swirl of fragrant smoke rising slowly, carrying the hopes and fears of worshippers into the unknown. Certain combinations of frankincense, myrrh, and other resins were reserved for specific deities or occasions, each scent telling a sacred story. This ritual language of scent was subtle, yet powerful, woven into the fabric of belief and daily life. Here's a curious aside. Some temple texts warn that overuse or the wrong scent could offend the gods, causing divine displeasure. It's almost like ancient Egyptian scent etiquette. Too much lotus might annoy one god, while too little cedar might slight another. You can picture a nervous priest carefully adjusting the amount of balm, hoping to strike just the right balance. This delicate dance of fragrance and favor adds a layer of mystery to these ancient rites. Perfume also played a role in funerary ceremonies, accompanying the deceased on their journey to the afterlife. Oils and incense were used to anoint mummies, believed to protect and comfort the spirit. Imagine the mingling scents of sandalwood and myrrh filling tomb chambers, a fragrant farewell whispering through eternity. As you inhale these imagined, sacred scents, let yourself drift into the quiet reverence of these ancient rituals. Carried gently on a fragrant breeze that links past and present, you follow the delicate trail of perfume far beyond the Nile, tracing its journey across deserts, seas, and mountain passes, as the scent economy of ancient Egypt blossomed into an early web of international trade. Imagine bustling caravanserais, where merchants haggle over precious jars of frankincense, myrrh, and oils, the air thick with the mingled aromas of spices and stories from distant lands. Perfume was more than a luxury. It was a valuable commodity, a fragrant currency that opened doors and forged alliances. The ancient Egyptians didn't produce all the ingredients themselves. Many resins and spices came from the Arabian Peninsula, East Africa, and even as far as India. Picture camels laden with sacks of aromatic treasures crossing sun-baked sands, traders navigating shifting dunes with practiced skill. Historians still argue how much control Egypt exerted over these trade routes. Were they passive recipients or savvy middlemen shaping the flow of luxury goods? Regardless, Egypt's position as a cultural and economic hub ensured perfumes and their raw materials traveled widely. This international perfume trade didn't just carry scents, it carried ideas, techniques, and cultural exchange. You might imagine a bustling port where Egyptian perfumers learn new methods from traders, blending foreign spices into local recipes. The scent of cinnamon or cardamom mixed with native lotus oil, creating new and unexpected fragrances. This fragrant fusion reflects a world more connected than you might expect, centuries before modern globalization. A quirky detail to savor: some perfumes were so prized that they were taxed or even stolen by thieves, leading to early security measures in storage and transport. Imagine guards watching over jars of scented oil as if they were gold coins, the faint aroma a constant reminder of their value. It's a fragrant heist waiting to happen, ancient style. As you envision these caravans winding through deserts and bustling markets alive with scent and chatter, let the knowledge that perfume was a bridge between cultures soothe you. This fragrant journey is as much about connection and exchange as it is about luxury and allure, a timeless dance carried on the winds of history. You now enter the subtle world of gender and perfume in ancient Egypt, where scent was not just a personal indulgence, but a nuanced language of identity and social expression. Picture men and women preparing for their day, anointing themselves with oils and balms, each choosing fragrances that spoke softly of their roles, desires, and societal expectations. In this world, perfumes were carefully tailored to gender, occasion, and status, weaving a complex sensory tapestry that historians still debate in detail. For men, scents often leaned toward deeper, muskier notes, cedar, sandalwood, and myrrh, that conveyed strength, authority, and sometimes seduction. Imagine a nobleman in a finely woven linen robe, his skin glistening with warm oils infused with spicy resins, commanding attention in a crowded court. Meanwhile, women favored lighter, floral perfumes: lotus, jasmine, and rose, symbols of beauty, fertility, and grace. You might picture a gentle woman in a garden, the faint scent of blossoms trailing her as she moves with quiet elegance. But it wasn't just about tradition. Trends shifted with seasons and even political changes, and some men indulged in floral scents while women occasionally embraced more robust aromas. The boundaries of scent and gender were fluid, a fragrant dance rather than a rigid rule. You can almost hear the whispered debates of scholars and courtiers over preferred scents, much like modern fragrance aficionados. A quirky tidbit: some texts suggest that certain perfumes were taboo for one gender or another. Wearing the wrong scent could raise eyebrows or cause social awkwardness. Imagine a man boldly sporting a heavily floral perfume at a banquet, eliciting polite but curious glances. These scent etiquettes acted as subtle social codes, guiding behavior without spoken words. Perfume also played a role in romantic and erotic contexts, with aphrodisiac qualities attributed to specific blends. Imagine lovers exchanging scented oils, each fragrance a secret message or invitation. This sensual use of perfume added layers of meaning to relationships and courtship, making scent a powerful, if silent, player in human connection. As you drift through these fragrant nuances, let the gentle complexity of scent and gender in ancient Egypt lull you deeper into this rich sensory world, where every note tells a story of identity, desire, and tradition. You now step into the rarefied world of royalty and luxury scents, where perfume became a symbol of power, prestige, and divine favor. Picture the pharaoh's chambers draped in gold and fine linens, perfumed oils glistening on alabaster tables, and servants moving quietly to anoint their lord with the rarest, most exquisite fragrances. These perfumes were no ordinary concoctions. They were secret recipes, crafted from the finest ingredients and guarded jealously as symbols of the ruler's sacred status. Imagine the pharaoh's personal perfumer, a master artisan entrusted with blending scents so complex and precious that only a few had the privilege to wear them. These mixtures might include exotic resins like frankincense imported from distant lands, rare flowers harvested at dawn, and spices so costly they rivaled gold. Historians still debate which scents truly graced the pharaoh's skin and which remain myth, but the importance of perfume in royal rituals and daily life is clear. You might smile at tales of extravagant perfume use. Some accounts describe the pharaoh's throne room filled with the scent of hundreds of lotus blossoms, or that entire royal processions were accompanied by clouds of fragrant smoke and perfumed attendants. This sensory spectacle wasn't mere vanity. It reinforced the pharaoh's divine right to rule, enveloping him in an aura both mystical and commanding. A quirky fact to savor: some royal perfumes were mixed with rare oils from animals like civet or musk deer, creating deep, lingering scents prized for their intensity. Today, these ingredients are controversial, But in ancient Egypt, they were treasured luxuries, their production a secret art. Imagine the careful harvesting and blending, all hidden behind palace walls. These royal perfumes were often stored in exquisitely decorated containers, gold leaf, precious stones, and intricate carvings, turning fragrance into wearable art and a symbol of status. Some jars bore inscriptions or prayers, binding scent with protection and power. As you imagine this world of scented opulence, let the richness and mystery of royal perfumes lull you deeper into the story, a fragrant embrace of power, artistry, and tradition that transcends time. You drift now into the twilight of ancient Egyptian perfume traditions, a slow fading and transformation that echoes through centuries. Imagine the once bustling workshops growing quieter, the scent of lotus and myrrh mingling with the shifting sands of history as empires rise and fall. As Egypt's power waned and new cultures absorbed its knowledge, the art of perfumery didn't vanish but changed shape, like a river bending to new paths. Perfume recipes and techniques were passed to the Greeks, Romans, and beyond, their own. Fragrant innovations layered atop the Egyptian foundation. You can picture scholars and apothecaries poring over worn scrolls, trying to capture the lost secrets of ancient scent. Historians still debate how much of the Egyptian craft was preserved versus reinvented. Did the delicate enfleurage method survive the centuries, or was it rediscovered later? Were the sacred uses of perfume maintained or secularized by new religions? A subtle but poignant detail, some ancient Egyptian perfume containers and oils were found in Roman tombs, suggesting a reverence for Egyptian scent traditions even as political control shifted. Imagine these bottles traveling thousands of miles, cherished as heirlooms or spiritual talismans, the scents inside whispering stories across cultures and time. Perfume also began to intertwine with medieval and Islamic scent traditions, blending Egyptian heritage with new ingredients and rituals. The idea of scent as both a luxury and a spiritual aid endured, but the specific plants and methods evolved. This transformation reminds you how culture is never static. Scent, like memory, adapts and survives in new forms. As you imagine the gentle fading of ancient Egyptian perfumery, let yourself be soothed by the knowledge that its legacy persists in unexpected ways. The fragrant river flows on, carrying with it the echoes of lotus petals, resinous smoke, and human devotion, softening the edges of time. Now you float gently into the quiet reflections of this fragrant journey, the slow, soothing cadence of scent weaving its final threads through your mind. Imagine the soft, lingering aroma of lotus and myrrh fading gently like a sunset over the Nile, the last whispers of ancient perfumes settling into the calm embrace of night. This is the scent of history's breath, a gentle reminder that even as civilizations rise and fall, their sensory echoes remain, subtle and enduring. Think about how these ancient perfumes, crafted with patience and reverence, connect us across millennia. You might not have smelled the delicate oils or inhaled the incense smoke, but through their stories, you touch the intimate rituals of a people who found beauty, power, and solace in fragrance. It's a reminder that scent is more than just a smell. It's memory, identity, and spirit wrapped in a delicate cloud. Let your thoughts drift slowly now, as if you were lying in a cool garden under an Egyptian sky, the stars beginning to twinkle, and a gentle breeze carrying the scent of distant flowers. There's comfort in this sensory bridge, a quiet thread linking you to those who once walked beside the Nile, perfumed and reverent, living lives as rich and complex as the fragrances they created. No need to rush. The world of ancient Egyptian perfumes invites patience and stillness. Let the soft whispers of history soothe your mind, slowing your breath and settling your thoughts. You are wrapped in a timeless embrace, a fragrant lullaby that quiets the day and prepares you for rest. Now, as you let these scents fade into the night, carry with you the gentle knowledge that the art of perfume, like the human spirit, is enduring, ever-changing, and infinitely beautiful. Sweet dreams.